My mother taught me when I was a little boy that all people are good. They just do bad things, but all people are good. And so I accepted that. I accepted that. I have met murderers, I have met rapists, I've met people who have done bad things, but I don't remember ever meeting a bad person. Just people who do bad things. So I think the judgment is he's a bad person, he killed somebody. We don't know his story. And if we knew his story since the day he was born till now. So I ask your viewers, Sage, I say to your viewers, who are you?
Praise the sun, everybody. Larry didn't want me to edit this, as you'll hear him in the beginning saying that, and I didn't. I just redid the intro because I was stuttering a lot because I was reading off of my phone and trying to look into the camera at the same time. So I redid the intro, but that's all I did. Enjoy this amazing conversation between me and my mentor, Larry Garrett. Hope y'all enjoyed and learned something. Thank you. Welcome to the Praise the Sun podcast, where we're honored to have a true trailblazer in the world of hypnosis as our guest today, Larry Garrett. Larry's journey began in 1970, a time when hypnosis wasn't widely accepted. His training at the National Hypnotic Institute in 1968 fueled his passion for personal growth, inspiring him to help others achieve their goals. Larry's expertise covers a spectrum of areas from habit control and emotional well-being to public speaking and health improvements. He guides individuals by aligning their subconscious desires with conscious aspirations. Notably, his methods have aided in his own recovery from cancer and have been embraced by medical professionals. He has even been invited by the former government of Iraq twice to hypnotize the eldest son of Saddam Hussein, Uday Hussein, for difficulty in walking after having been shot multiple times. Larry was very successful and wrote 2 books on his travels to Baghdad. With over 50 years of experience, Larry has built one of Chicago's largest hypnosis and wellness centers. He taught at colleges, collaborated with physicians, and empowered countless individuals. Larry's commitment to success and transformation shines through in his personalized approach, where he emphasizes learning and self-improvement as a gradual journey. Join us for an insightful conversation as Larry shares his wealth of knowledge, experience, and compassionate guidance. We'll explore the art and science of hypnosis, unlocking the potential within us all. Stay tuned for an episode that promises inspiration, empowerment, and the keys to unlocking your own path of self-discovery and growth. Praise the sun. Welcome my guest and my mentor, Larry Garrett. It's so nice to see you, Larry.
I sit here listening to your introduction, and I say, I'd like to know who that guy is. Okay. He sounds like somebody that we need to talk to.
That's right. That is right. Mr. Larry
Yeah.
Garrett. It's
So
so nice to see you.
I always think about the first day I met you. Immediately I felt a connection and a bond. You're a Pisces, aren't you?
I am a Pisces. That is correct.
That's why we connected. Yeah. I
That is
remember
why
that.
we connected. Yeah,
And
it
I
was
remember
love at first sight.
yeah, it was love at first sight. You're so right. You're so right. I see a little reflection in the sun, but if you're okay with it, I'm trying to move. How's that? That's better. You could see my stairs going up there. How's that? That's better though, isn't it? That's
Yeah,
better.
that's good. That's
Better.
perfect.
And there's a nice painting behind me of Kiss. You know Kiss?
The band,
No, Kiss. The art. The art.
the the art.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes,
So
yes.
nice to see you. Nice to connect with you. What magic we could create. If I need to get up, I told you I'm cooking some chicken for Jack, and I got them on low. But just in case they seem like they're going to boil over, I'm going to jump up and shut them down. But I'm right
No,
next to the stove. I could go sit in my office, but excuse me, if I sit next to the stove, I could watch them.
yeah, no problem. I can make edits as we need to.
Thank you.
Yeah,
You
no
won't need
problem.
you won't need that at us.
Huh?
You will not need to edit us.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The
I have
more,
a
I'm telling you, Sage, you and I, the more natural we are, the better this podcast is going to be.
I feel it. I feel it. And you know what?
Mhm.
Just in case I had wrote some questions, but I know the Larry Garrett style is just flow. It's just channel. It's just
Yeah, yeah.
I never know what I'm going to talk about, but when people leave, they always feel better.
Those are good words. You're right. Isn't that the words we use? I don't know why, but I always say if people leave, they always feel better. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly.
My buddy
Yeah.
Jack just came and sat down next to me here. I could sit in his chair now. But I'm okay
Ah,
now. The sun is out of our reflection, so that's good. Yeah.
yeah. How has from your experience from 2023 to the 1960s has hypnosis changed? It seems like it's more accepted and kind of I guess kind of trendy in a way.
More professional appearing presently. Yes. Excuse me. More professional appearing. People who would never consider hypnosis are now choosing hypnosis. And so you ask a good question. My first class, actually, the first time I saw hypnosis being used was my original instructor, Fred Shavel from the National Hypnotic Institute. And I was interested in astrology. That was another weird one in that time. It was 1968. That was a strange time, 68, say, strange time. And I went to this astrologers convention or meeting, and it was like a hypnosis conference. They had astrology, they had psychics, and they had a hypnotist. And this hypnotist, Fred Shavel, he was up there and on stage, and he was doing his routine. Somebody stuck to a chair, I forget the name. I sat there puffing on my cigarettes, folding my arms, and said, "This guy's drunk. He can't hypnotize me." Well, one thing we've learned, as you've noticed yourself, is learning about hypnosis is learning about the mind and how it works. So if I sat there like this, that I'm probably skeptical or uptight about something. But I didn't know it then. He knew it though. He said, "Hey, how about you?" He said, "You want to volunteer?" Nope. I don't believe in that stuff anyway. So he invited me to go to his class. He says, "Come to my class, no charge, and I'll teach you what I do." I thought, well, that's a interesting invite, no charge. How could I lose? And I could prove this guy's a phony and a fake. And that's how I started. And of course, the rest is history. He only gave me that first class at no charge. The rest of them were $5 a class, but I was able to afford it somehow. It was a rough time.
Mm.
So he hypnotized me, and I might share. I like to share with the people who are joining us. At that time, I was very anxious. I had a lot of anxiety type of disorders. I had severe bleeding duodenal ulcers. I had colitis. I had headaches. My hands would tremor. I smoked too much. I bit my nails too much, and I used to stutter. If you got me at that time. I to talk like this. I couldn't get the words out. And one of the reasons I feel that I'm a great hypnotist is because I've been there. You know, you and I might not remember this, but there was a commercial for Oldsmobiles in 1956. And I used that commercial to share with people. And the commercial just said one thing. The guy standing next to his beautiful Oldsmobile, and the commercial guy says, "Ask the person who drives one." Isn't that powerful?
That's a
Right.
powerful,
Yeah.
yeah, that's a powerful one.
So when you or myself think about what we've been through to get where we are, no wonder we do a good job.
Yeah.
Right, right. No wonder. Ask the guy who's used it.
Yeah, it's a powerful hypnotic
Yeah.
suggestion.
So my life changed, of course. I was hypnotized. I sat there with my eyes closed. I mean, there's a whole bunch of the story, but I don't know how long you want to talk, but we could talk all day, as you say. But I was
Yeah.
my eyes closed. I'm saying I'm not hypnotized. I could open my eyes anytime I want. Well, one is he did a trick on me, which worked. And the other one is I opened my eyes and I said, something is wrong here, because nothing was wrong. I wasn't nervous. I didn't have tightness in my stomach. My hands weren't tremoring. And I didn't even crave lighting a cigarette. Usually I would something like that. And I said, whoa, what did this guy do? I need to learn this. And that's how it started. I became obsessed with it. And who is this podcast for hypnotists or anybody?
Um, it's really for anybody. I guess it's for people who I find interesting and spirituality and wellness and
Yes,
yeah,
good, good. Okay,
yeah,
then let's cover everything.
yeah,
You know, I believe in strong spirituality.
yeah.
I I study the mind with obsession. I do this crazy thing called hypnosis with a love that I have not ever had for another person. Love hypnosis, and uh, and I practice higher consciousness with a great mentor of mine, Ken Kais. And Ken Kais taught me how to live the moment and love myself unconditionally, and I do that. And right now, we haven't talked in a little while, Sage. I'm writing a wonderful article right now, or not even article. It's going to be a new book,
Oh wow.
new book, and the title is "Can the can the can we cure the incurable?"
Can
That'll
we
get
cure
you, huh?
that? Yeah. Oh, that's a good attention grabber.
And I'm up to about 80 pages there, and I'm thinking about combining my journey through cancer with this because I've done a lot of writing with my journey of cancer, maybe about 300 pages there. I got 80 pages of can we cure the incurable? So you see, we're already drifting away from hypnosis because
That's
this has
fine.
nothing to do with hypnosis.
Yeah, that's
But
fine.
I'm going to say to whoever joins us, if I were a physician and you feel the stage and then comment to me because this is my research, and I say to you, sorry, Charlie, you only have 6 months to live. Take me out of the light here. What would you feel with that if you only had 6 months to live? What would go on in your mind, Sage?
Man, such a powerful question. If you only have 6 months to live,
Yeah.
you know, if I knew that it was impending, I would do whatever I was afraid to do to the
Mm,
fullest degree with
good
no
for you.
fear. Because most people they fear death, that death is the end.
Yeah.
So if you know it's ending, just whatever you're thinking, just do it. Just do it.
Yeah. Jack got out of the other chair. I'm gonna go sit in the other chair. And I
Okay.
think my lighting, just wait a minute. Yeah, my plants will cover up. So how's that? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's
Okay. I apologize. I probably because you'll sit my desk, as I say, and the lighting be better. But I didn't want to miss my chicken. So I asked that question, and then I ramble on other stuff, and that's Larry Garrett, and he can't stay on one subject. And I say to you, I say, okay, you have 6 months to live. Well, you are an exceptional person. That's why I'm here right now with you. And you say, I'm going to do what I can and attempt to remove the fear. I think the majority of the people that we would speak to would immediately have this drop in energy. And now the immune system drops down to nothing. So that 6 months may have just turned into 3 months.
yeah. Yeah. I
Right?
never even thought about that. That's true.
Yeah. And so when we dropped when I was going through cancer treatments, I stayed so positive. I had some of the greatest caregivers in the world taking care of me 24/7. And I remember making a comment and saying, I'm looking forward to this next process of the journey. So everybody who has had cancer and come through it will say, no big deal. The cancer is not so bad. It's the healing that knocks you on your butt. But if you haven't had cancer, you say, cancer, oh my God, cancer. And you start freaking out, just like you said about death. Up until about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was nothing to do with cancer. I think it was just had to do with chronological aging. I had this irrational fantasy. I'm going to live forever. Am I a crazy guy? Huh, I am such a crazy guy. I'm going to live forever.
I love it. I love it.
And then I started thinking, you probably have heard me at some of the meetings say, I'm going to live to be 100 plus. And if I don't, you could call me a liar. Right? And I think I'm on a good journey of 100 plus. I really do. If I drop dead tomorrow, boy, did I have a good life today. I sat here with my great friend Sage. We had a great conversation. I said, oh, excuse me, Sage, I got to go now. And that would be it. And it would be okay because, like yourself, you mentioned about me going to Iraq, and everybody, before I went, everybody said, oh, you can't go. You'll never come back. You'll be killed. And it was one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life to sit there with one of the most hated men in the world and love him. Hmm. And I had no fears. I really had no fears. I'm like you, Sage. I don't wear fears. I don't wear fears because they get in my way. And the funny part is they probably never happen anyway. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, what if I'm late for that appointment? You haven't even left the house yet,
Yeah, exactly.
right? What if there's a lot of
Exactly.
traffic? You haven't even got out there yet. What if they don't show up? What time are you supposed to be there? At noon. Well, it's not noon yet.
What do
So
you think that is?
I think it's taught to us that we need to be, how about these phrases? You better think of the future, son. And then when we think about the future, we measure it by the past. So you're gonna really get me going here, Sage. I know it. But here's my philosophy. When we think about the past, we often regret. Yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
we say I should have done this. I should have done that. Why didn't I do this? And so we regret what we didn't do. I think we all do. I do practice not regretting. I really do. I have a great philosophy of that. And what I think about this podcast we're doing, I think this is going to enlighten and help many people, Sage. And here's one. If we regret, we say, 10 years ago, I should have bought that property. Well, you didn't buy the property. So too bad. Secondly, you may have not had the money to buy the property then. Too bad. But the real issue of any kind of regret, whatever it might be, the real issue of that regret is we did not know then what we know now to have done then what we would do now. Is that good wording?
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, yeah. And I think of that for myself, Well, I should have done, but I didn't know how. I didn't know what I know today. If I could take what I know today and put it back 20 years ago, wow, that's an interesting fantasy because what would I know today if I took what I know today and put it 20 years ago? Okay, so that's part of it. We look at the past, measure this though. When we are under stress, we look at the life a little distorted. Oh my God, look at me, I'm looking old and I got wrinkles and look at that spot on the wall. Did you see that scratch on my car? So when we're under stress, we see all the negative. When we're at peace, nothing could mess with us. I live peace, Sage, as you know. I live peace. Nobody could mess with me. I'd like to use other words, and I'm just going to say, nobody could mess with me when I'm at peace. Right?
Yes, exactly.
So, so now I look at the past with stress and I regret, and I bring the past into the present moment, and I look at the future with the regret of the past. So I look at the future with the anxiety of what might happen. So you ask me how that happens. Do you think that's a good way?
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. I think that when we're under stress in the present moment, we look at the past and the future simultaneously in the present. I've never been successful. I'll never be successful now. If we could neutralize that stress, and that, it might lead into hypnosis or meditation or prayer. If we could just calm our mind, then we could do anything and Nobody could hurt us. They could stab us, they could shoot us, they could kill us, they could rob us, but they can't hurt us if we're at peace.
Do you feel that there's like a really strong connection between hypnosis and spirituality in that sense?
I agree. I agree. You and I have been hypnotized. If somebody watching us, listening to us, has not been hypnotized, I share this with you. When you're hypnotized, you are in the most spiritual place you could be.
Oh
Because,
wow, that's a big statement. That's a big one.
yeah, because when we think of spirituality, I think we need to refrain from judgment or thinking or logic. You think?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
So when we are in spirituality, we are absent of judgment or logic or thinking. I have a great phrase for Jack, my dog, or anybody's dog, or anybody's cat. And I say dogs they live a very spiritual being, but they live a silent power. And the silent power is something that many of us as humans have a difficult time acquiring. And the silent power is dogs live in, or cats or animals. They live in the moment. They don't judge, and they love unconditionally. And I think when we're hypnotized, that's a consciousness we experience. We don't judge. We live in the moment, and we love unconditionally. That's spirituality to me.
Yeah, I agree. And very often I always think about how we always feel like we're so much, more intelligent than, animals, cats and dogs because we have the ability to,
Yeah,
rationalize or whatever. When you can look at animals and you can just see that they're a lot happier than a lot of people that you might come
yeah,
across,
they
you know.
sure are. They sure are. They're a lot happier, you know, because they live the moment. When I leave the house, Jack looks at me like, okay, I know you got to go. And then when I get back, he is so thrilled. And so he's always in the moment. He's always in the moment.
Yeah. I often think can we have that ability to, if you have a partner and they go to work and when they come back, can you be just as excited as
Yeah,
the very first time you met them?
yeah.
Can you be so present that
Those are
you
good
ha- you
words.
f- you have that emotional energy and excitement?
Sure. Those are good words, and I have an answer for that. Sometime I say to my clients, you think I know everything? I don't know everything. I've just been around the block a few times. And every time you go around the block, you learn something new. But allow me to share that with you. Can we do that?
Absolutely,
I
absolutely.
agree. I agree. I was just going to share with you. I think I do that. I think I live the moment. I think I love unconditionally. I think if a partner of mine walks out the door, when he or she comes back, I'm as excited to see them as I was when they walked out the door. And you've seen me in groups, and you've seen me alone, Sage, and you see that I just love. If I love, I'm, I'm here. I'm like that dog. But I learned that from Ken Kai's originally in 1979. I learned to love unconditionally. And I had a partner at that time who also loved unconditionally. And we trained together in higher consciousness. And much later in that relationship, we made an equal decision that it was not going to work out. I think it was about 5 years old. She wanted to get married and have children. I didn't want to have children. I already had children. I was willing to marry her, but I didn't want to have children. So she needed to move on. And we both made it okay. It was one of the greatest revelations I've ever had in my life that when we love somebody unconditionally, we don't say, well, you promised me you would be here. You said, oh, shut up and let them live their life as you would like to.
That's a massive revelation, and yeah, that's definitely something that a lot of people go through at some point. Is just you come to face the choice of, do you actually love this person unconditionally, and do you love them enough to let them go if that needs to be the proper decision to
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And as you know, because you know me personally, when you and I are together, you could feel my love for you. And I often think about people telling me how bad Uday Hussein was, the eldest son of Saddam Hussein. And he was the most hated man in the world. I don't know if you knew that, the most hated man in the world. There was a book written about that. And they made a movie about him called The Devil's Devil. Horrible movie. But I spent 20 days. I was there twice, 10 days each time. And I got to know this man so well that I realized that he wasn't a bad man. He just did bad things. So how could we judge somebody who we don't know their history or their past? I choose not to judge, because when I look at somebody, I don't know who they are. I don't know their history. But I've been doing hypnosis now. I started full time practice in 1970. That's 53 years this coming October. And after 53 years, I have sat with enough people to realize that everybody has an issue of life. Everybody has a challenge of some sort. Beware the person who claims they have their act together. They're the ones that are most screwed up. And so as I speak to you, right? And as I
Yeah.
speak to you, I don't say I have my act together. I say I've been around the block a few times. That's what I say. I say that I live at peace. That's what I say. I have been in situations, as you know, and we could spend a whole session talking about that, where my life was threatened. I've been in situations where I might not live another minute. And by living love, I'm sitting here talking to you years later.
Living in love.
Yeah, living love. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When you first got to the Middle East, um, was there any fear at all? It was just, I'm going here, I'm gonna help Uday. Like,
Well, let's talk about two kinds of fears, Sage. And one kind of fear is the guy pulls out his gun and he says, "Give me your money." You should be scared. You should give me your money. You got a gun in you if you're afraid of getting shot. The other issue is this fear called anxiety. And anxiety is, what if that guy's got a gun? Who said he has a gun? He looks like he has a gun. Do you see his hand in his pocket? He probably has a gun. I could tell he has. And so you see, the guy with the gun is fear. The emotions you made up are anxiety, which feel like fear, but are not fear. Yes?
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
So your question was, when I went to the Middle East, when I was invited to go to Iraq, I was told by everyone that I mentioned it to, including my mom, don't go, it's dangerous, you might not come back. And, and I wrote two great stories on that. And I didn't listen to any of them, obviously. Got on the plane sat there on tarmac, was running late, too bad. Got got to France for changeover to fly to Amman, Jordan, because at that time there was a no-fly zone to Iraq. And if a plane was flying over Iraq, it was going to be shut down by the Americans. Did you know that?
wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting to think that, because my second trip I flew over Iraq. And my biggest fear was not the Iraqis, it was the Americans. They might shoot our plane down.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So interesting too, I received one of the first visas to go to Iraq for an American since 1991. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a great honor and gift. Our government issued that and okayed it. Sure, they probably wanted me to check it out. I mean, what other American is invited to go to Iraq, right? So I was invited. So I got to Amman, Jordan, and I missed my connection. That no, excuse me, I got to France, and I missed my connection to go to Jordan. So I had to sit in Paris for a day. That was horrible. So no, I wasn't scared though. I was so excited. What a journey. Let me ask you, would you be scared to go to some far off place if you're invited?
No, if I'm invited, I'm
Right? Right?
I feel like I would go as well. I would,
Good.
you know, yeah.
One day I'm sitting talking to Uday Hussein, and one of the most favorite things I could recall him saying to me was, he used to call me Mr. Larry, and he says, Mr. Larry, so let me ask you, with a little grin on his face, how come you're not scared to be here with me? I sat back and took my Larry Garrett posture, and I said, so if I had invited you to my house, would you be scared? He just laughed. So it was right, right?
Yeah.
So he invited me to his house. If somebody invites you to their house, you don't go there scared. You go there with honor. You go there with a compliment. You go there with gratitude. I was invited to come to his house. So I'm not going to. By the way, the trip to Jordan or the trip to Baghdad was not scary either. The only thing I think that may have created a little trepidation was because I missed my flight in France going to Jordan. My bodyguard and a Frenchman and a Jordanian driver needed to wait a day for me. They needed to wait. So I got there, they were waiting, and it was 7 o'clock in the evening, their time. And when you traveled from Jordan to Baghdad, it was all desert, all desert. 120 degrees during the day was nothing. First time I went there was in April. And the second time was in August. So you can imagine it was really hot then. So we're driving through Jordan. First, we got stopped by a cop in Jordan. And we were in Amman, whatever they did, we got out of it. I think we were on the wrong street or something. But I got a little nervous. Boy, I end up in a Jordanian jail here, I could tell right now. We remember we had a League of All Nations there, Sage. We had a Frenchman, we had an Iraqi, we had a Jordanian, and an American. What a group, huh?
Yeah. What a group.
Right? I mean, that's really an interesting scenario. So we go through Jordan's border, and we had some clout. I think some people were giving us clout because we got through pretty easy. Took us maybe a half hour, an hour, but that was pretty easy for them. Everything was slow. Now we travel through a long stretch of land, 300 meters, called no man's land. That's between Jordan and Iraq, this stretch of no man's land. So we leave the border of Jordan and we travel across this no man's land and we get to Iraq. Well, that was like a James Bond movie. That was like a tin shed, guys coming out with guns aiming at our car. And the Iraqi guy had all these paperwork. I had a letter that was from the Iraqi government inviting me. And the challenge was we were a day late, and the Iraqis changed the guards every day so that there would be no payoffs to get you in or out of the country. Isn't that interesting? So the Iraqi guards at the border weren't privy to the fact that we were coming through. So we had to sit there for about 3 hours. Our car was dismantled, things were taken out, we were led inside with guns. So that was a little scary, but kind of so
Wow. Wow. What an experience. Wow.
like a James Bond movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a different place. And that's a long time ago. You brought that one up just a long time ago. But from then on, it was beautiful. What else can you tell me, Sage? You must have a list there of questions or comments or thoughts, huh?
Yeah. So from your experience and the vast amount of clients that you have, what has seemed to be like the most common thing that people come to you for? I know it's all, hypnosis is all in it's mindset, but what has been the most real? What is like you feel is the most common issue that most people have?
We go into the past. The most common issues in the 70s and 80s was habit control. Can you see that? I want to quit smoking. I want to lose weight. That's what they thought it was about. As you and I have learned about the mind, we realize that if a person smokes too much, it's not because they're addicted to nicotine. And if they eat too much, it's not because they like sweets. So I think the most common factor now is to learn what's going on inside of the mind that causes them to be out of control, obsessively, habitually, emotionally. So to answer your question, I want to say the biggest issue right now is conflict in people's lives. This is a crazy time stage to live, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a crazy time to live. Not that the past was any better, but I think as we evolve as humans, we keep on living a crazy time. If you look back at people in the 20s, that was a crazy time. The 30s, 40s, 50s, and the same thing as now. But to answer your question, I think the conflict I speak of is a conflict that we don't normally speak of, and that is the conflict between the logical mind, notice I'm putting patting at my left brain, and the emotions. The logic and the emotions are in conflict. The logic says, I'm going to make it up. I don't need that cigarette. The emotions grab it and lights it, smokes it. The logic says, I don't need those cookies as you finish up the whole box. But let's speak more serious. The logical mind says, nothing to be worried about. Everything's going to be okay. Enter a little thing called stress, and the emotional mind takes over. When we started talking about my latest writing that I'm pretty obsessed with, by the way, Can We Cure the Incurable? I get into how much the emotional mind takes over when we have a disease, how much the logical mind lacks any kind of power. The logical mind says these words, Sage. I know I'm okay, but I feel like I'm not. I know I look good, but I feel ugly. I know I have enough money, but I feel broke. So isn't it interesting that what we know is not what we feel, but what we feel is what runs our life? So why is it that we have this conflict? And what's the difference between the logical and the emotional minds? So I have great answers for that. I think the logical mind, by the way, that's something the animals don't have. That's why their life is so good. The logical
Yeah.
mind, right? The logical mind thinks of things in a very linear way. This is the way it is. That measure 7 feet, 3 inches. That's it. And the emotional mind says, yeah, but can't we bend it a little? So the emotional mind, I feel, correct me if I'm inaccurate in my assumption, I feel the emotional mind can do, can create, can have anything. And the logical mind is limited.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah. I have a great phrase that I like to use, like this one. I think the emotional mind has the powers of the universe. Talk about spiritual power. We spoke of that a little while ago. So the power, the grand power of the emotional mind, I would measure it much akin to a nuclear energy. And a nuclear energy to me is a very significant power. And that is that we could use it to light up the city with a nuclear power plant, or we could use it to blow up the city with a nuclear bomb. And I think that's the way we need to look at the emotions. The emotions allow us to create the most unimaginable, grand experiences. And then if we're negative, the emotional mind could kill us. The emotional mind can make us sick. How about dis-ease? When we are not at ease, we are in dis-ease. And we don't think of that. And when we think about disorganized, that means we're not organized. Disassociate, that means we're not going to associate with that person. But why is it that we miss this word dis-ease to not realize it means we're not at ease? And somebody watching us right now, listening to us, they're going to say, well, Larry, all disease is not the mind. Yeah, you're right. But if we trace all diseases, if we are at peace, we're probably going to live longer. And you say, well, then why did you get cancer, Larry? It was called a virus, and that was a physical challenge got inside my body. But other than that, I've been a pretty healthy guy, and I think getting challenged with cancer was a wonderful, wonderful experience and a great gift, so I could understand that same challenge in other people. But I still believe dis-ease comes from absence of ease. And if we are at ease, our bodies feel better.
Yeah, and like you said at the beginning of this talk, you've been around the block, and I feel like that experience with cancer was just the opportunity to, like you said, better understand someone else's perspective of what they're going through. So yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because I guess when you have cancer, you could die. You could die. But I believe in alternative. I believe in thinking positive, and it was okay if I die. I had cancer in the neck and the throat and the back of the tongue. They couldn't remove the tongue. They couldn't remove the cancer because they'd have to remove the tongue. So I had to go through treatment through chemo and radiation. That was a little bit of a rough journey, but it was a great experience. And other than that, I share with people that other than when I had a lot of anxiety before I got into hypnosis, I don't ever remember having an illness that was so severe like cancer. And to have that experience and come back, it's like quitting smoking. Now I know what smokers go through. It's like having anxiety, and now I know what people with anxiety go through. And when I speak about anxiety, often my clients will say, "You're right. That's exactly what I feel." And I sit back and say, "Well, I've been there. I remember."
Yeah.
Yeah.
From your experience, can hypnosis be used to like apply I guess you would say metaphysical concepts like the law of attraction and manifesting? That seems to be what the younger generation cares about a lot, is manifesting their reality and creating wealth and stuff like that. Can that be used in that way?
Yeah, let's back up a moment and say about this desire, this need to manifest. And I speak with confidence, and I think of a phrase that says, "It's not arrogance when it's true." I like that phrase.
That's my favorite.
Good. I
Yep.
love that phrase, right?
I use it all the
So
time.
good. I'm glad you do. I'm glad you do. Yeah, I'm glad because more people need to use these words like we use in the law of attraction. And how else are we going to say we're good, right? How else? Somebody comes to your stage and they want to be hypnotized. How else are you going to say you're good other than saying, "I'm good. I'll get you. You want to lose weight? I'll get you to lose weight. You want to stop the anxiety? I'll help you with the anxiety." So let's go back to your question. The law of attraction is what we live. The law of attraction had a big move about 5, 8 years ago. Ooh, everybody's living the law of attraction. Somebody recently said to me, "Oh, I know you. I could hear you live the law of attraction, don't you?" Well, we could put a label on it and say yes, But what I really live is I live the moment. And the moment always gives me a gift. Gives me a gift, gives me another opportunity. I need to take a risk though. I need to take a risk. When we think about the law of attraction, we think about success. If we don't go for it, we'll never be successful. If you want to fail, just sit there and procrastinate and you'll fail. If you want to be successful, then you need to do it. And you might fail doing it, but you've got a 50-50 chance of success or failure. If you don't do it, you've got a 100% chance of failure. However, I think that I have learned how to manifest anything I desire. I believe that. You've known me quite a few years, you've observed, but you name it, and I'll bet that I've manifested it if I desired it in my life. And you say, well, how do you do that? I think about one of my great mentors, Wayne Dyer. And Wayne Dyer told a great story one time, and he told a story about the dog chasing his tail. And the guy says to the dog or the cat, whoever's chasing his tail, why are you chasing your tail? And the animal says, well, I heard if I catch my tail, I will have the riches of life. And the comment from the questionnaire was, well, don't you know if you go through life, your tail will follow you everywhere you go. So I learned that little story as my anchor to manifesting everything I desire. So I don't desire money because some people say, well, if I had more money, I'd be happy. Maybe if you were happy, you wouldn't need as much money. If I had a new car, I'd be happy. Maybe if you were happy, the old car would be suffice. So the real issue is if we feel good, everything we desire will be ours, and everything we desire to be ours changes. It changes because, I've created things that I didn't even need, Sage, because I was practicing that could I have that? And I create it. Now what do I do? Shit, what do I do now? I just created this new car, but I got car payments. So I guess it wasn't a new car I needed. I'm making that up.
Yeah.
Okay. But if I had a new car, I'd be happy. Oh, I forgot that I make the payments. Then I remember the greatest manifestation I ever created was the Wellness Center. And I think you might know that story, but every day I live a block away. And every day I'd walk down Kimball Avenue and I'd look at this building across the street, which was empty. And I would fantasize and I'd say, that would make a great wellness center. But it wasn't for sale. And it was a beater building. I wouldn't even know how to start. And so one day, 3 years later, remember now, in the meantime, everybody wants to manifest things right away. I want that new car now. I want that more money now. And I think part of manifestation is being at peace. Part of manifesting is desiring what you want, what you desire, and now go take care of life. Your tail will follow you. You just go take care of life. Do not sit there. Do not sit there with angst. I want a new car. Just go take care of life. Somebody might give you a car. You never know. They might give you a car. So I'm walking past this building 3 years later, walking past the building. By the way, I drew pictures of it. I measured it. And I don't know if you know all that story, but I measured the building one time. And I went back to my other office and I like architectural drawings. So I drew a picture of the outside of the building. I didn't know what the inside looked like, but I would fantasize what it probably looks like. So I hung it on the wall at my other office and I told everyone in the other office, we used to have some meetings like we have their Sunday meetings at the Wellness. We used to have at my other office as well. And I told everybody, this is going to be our new wellness center. And they just listened, After a while, Sage, you notice when you think positive long enough, nobody messes with you. Did you ever notice that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So nobody was messing with me. They say, Larry says it's going to be our new wellness center. but I had not created it yet. One is I have to share with you, I had no money. I had $0. So even if the building was for sale, I couldn't afford to buy it. I had no money. By the way, manifesting is an interesting experience because it's creating. It's not just, oh, well, I can't buy that building because I don't have enough money. Oh, shut up. If you want the building, it'll come to you. 3 years later, I'm walking down Kimball Avenue on the other side of the street, and this woman's picking up some litter in front, and she says, Mister, come here. Okay. You want to buy my building? Yeah. For 3 years, I've been walking by fantasizing. What took you so long, lady? Now I had a challenge. Now I had a challenge, Sage. I had no money. I had no money. In fact, I had no money. That's why I was taking the L to work all the time because I don't even think I had a car. So now I've got an opportunity to buy this fantasy that I've been looking at, but I have no money. Do you know my friend Joe Roth?
Not off the top of my head, but I probably
You probably have met him. Joe's a great friend, especially now after the story. He lives in Arizona presently, but he was in Chicago visiting last week. I had a great opportunity to have lunch with him. So Joe Roth at the time was a mortgage broker. And this was 1997. 97, that's when I bought the building. And I needed $50,000 for a down payment immediately. I called up Joe and I said, Joe, I need $50,000 to buy this building. Can you help me? Now, this is before we had 2008, Sage. There was a thing called no-doc loans. You ever hear of no-doc loans?
I'm not familiar.
No-doc loans means all you had to do was tell the person, oh, yeah, I've got money in the bank, and you didn't have to prove it. No-doc loans meant no documents needed.
Oh, okay.
Now, if you think about 2008 and we had a crash in real estate, as Joe told me one time, there were more low-income families borrowing money to buy a house than ever before. The challenge is they couldn't afford to make the payments. So 2008, we had a crash in the market because there were so many people who had done no-doc loans. But I just had the great opportunity to get a no-doc loan for $50,000. Went and bought this building that now is a grand wellness center with no money. That's manifesting. Do you not agree?
Absolutely.
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 That's manifesting. To manifest doesn't mean we need money to buy the car, money to buy the building. It's called trust. I don't think we have spoken of trust yet.
Not yet.
So speak of spirituality, consciousness, logic, feelings. So to the person that's listening to us right now, go inside of your consciousness. Close your eyes for a minute and think of something, somebody, even your dog or your cat that you trust. Anybody. You do it, Sage. We're talking right now. You do it. This way the viewer here can get a feeling of it. You feeling it, Sage?
Absolutely.
What can you do with that feeling? Just a feeling. What could you do with that feeling?
The feeling of trust.
Yeah, just a feeling of trust. What could we do with that feeling of trust?
I would be able to just let go and just do whatever I wanted to without fear.
Wonderful. I'm getting emotional. I'm going to cry in a moment as you say it, as I look at you and I see the peace that surrounded you. Well, I live my life with trust. I live my life moment to moment to moment with trust. I am getting emotional. So to live our life with trust creates an energy and a feeling inside that nothing could mess with us. And then people sometimes like to say to me, "You mean trust myself? You mean trust my spouse? You mean, no, I just mean trust. You don't have to have anything, just trust." And when we trust, the universe opens up for us. When we doubt, it closes. I always think of a silly joke I used to make about the person going to apply for a position, and they say to the HR person, "You're not hiring, are you?" No.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my writing I'm doing right now, I write about the person who says, "You don't want a cup of coffee, do you? You don't want to eat, do you?" And I don't know where that kind of language came from. Why can't we say, "Would you like a cup of coffee? I'll make you a cup of coffee if you like." Or why can't we go in and look for a position of life and say, "I'd love to work at this company. I would really, I would, if I were looking for a position right now, I would do research on a company." I remember, I haven't talked about this in a long time. I remember saying to people, "Don't go looking for a job, create what you desire and only look for that." That's all. Before I was into hypnosis, I had about 25, 30 jobs by the time I was 30 years old. You name it, I probably have done it. Sorry, I'm moving the screen there. I'm just trying to get the light to change. And so as I speak to you, I say to you that we need to desire and design what we wish. So if I wanted, I'm going to make it up. If I wanted to have a position at this investment company, I would start studying everything I could about this investment company that I'm going to go to. I don't even know about investments, Sage. That's why I drew that one up. I could have said something else, but I'm thinking about investments because I don't know anything about investments. So I'm going to say, so I studied this company. I study what investments are. I study what it's all about. And I would personally want to make an appointment with somebody who has some clout, some power. I was spending some time with a young guy that I know who was looking for positions. And he said he had gone through 60 interviews online and he was rejected on every one. Isn't that interesting?
60.
60, 60.
Wow. Wow.
So I asked him, I said, "So if you do 61, what are your expectations?" He's probably going to say no. But as we spent time together, metaphorically speaking, he was probably one of those guys that online would say, "You're not hiring, are you?" He didn't have to say it in words. He probably said it in energies. I don't understand our newest style of life. I was listening to NPR before you and I started this, and they were talking about people going back to school. And one guy says, older guy, he says, "I haven't been in school in 30 years. I have to learn all about this new technology." Yeah, right. So here's a person 60 times has been rejected. So he's expecting to be rejected. If I were looking for a new position, I would somehow want to find the person that has the most control, and then I would get that position. That's how I would get that new position. The person who has the most control. What do you think of that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if I apply to 60, I guess it's just attitude based, but I don't know. I don't give up. I'm persistent.
Neither.
I'll just keep going for it. I'll make it
Yeah.
61, 62. I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah. As I said, I've had many positions. I remember one like that. When I was about 21, I wanted to learn how to drive a truck. I wanted to learn how to drive a semi. So I went to this trunking company and I had no experience. And I said to the guy, I said, "I'd like to apply for a job." He says, "You ever drive a truck?" "No, I haven't." "Go ahead, Jack." Jack's going outside. He's leaving me. Jack is leaving me.
See you,
He's
Jack.
Yeah, he wanted to go for a walk. I've been ignoring him because I'm on this Zoom with you, whatever we call this one. And so So I went there and the guy said, "You ever drive a truck?" I says, "No." And he said, "Well, how am I going to hire you? You've never driven a truck." I said, "Well, I could drive a truck, but I've never driven a truck." So they didn't hire me. He said, "I'll give you a call. I'll give you a call in a week." So a week later, he didn't call me. I went back and I said, "I was waiting for you to call." He said, "I told you I'd call you." "Well, you didn't call, so I figured I'd come back." "No, I'll call you." Okay. So I went away. Another week later, I went back and I says, "I'm back again." He said, "I told you I'd call you." I said, "What? You didn't call, so I'm back." He says, "You must want this job awful bad." "I do." "Okay, we'll give you the job." So I got the job. And I always remember that because I think that we need to go in with an attitude that I want that. And I think you asked a question earlier that people want to know manifesting. We need to trust we could have
Yeah, I agree 100%.
it. Yeah.
To double back to spirituality, what do you feel people call the higher self? What is, in your opinion, what is that, the higher self? And can we tap into that through self hypnosis or hypnosis? Or is that exactly who we're talking to when we're doing hypnosis?
Let's pretend that we have a measurement of negativity and positivity. Well, we can't be all positive. If you know electricity, if you know electrical current, you can't have just a positive wire because you need a ground. So you need a positive and a negative. So in consciousness, I think we need to have a positive and a negative. However, I think we need to balance it. So it sounds almost like contradictory to what we've been talking about as I'm saying to be positive, be positive, be positive, but we need to have this balance. So you asked me a question about spirituality. I think that negative's going to come to us. People are going to die, people are going to get sick, somebody might steal our car, something might be uncomfortable. I have to share with you, personally speaking, I felt bad as Jack just went downstairs to go out the door. He's got a dog door, so if he needs to go to the washroom, he'll go in the backyard and I'll pick it up later. But that took a little energy that I had to work through to be okay letting Jack go because he knows I'll take care of him later. And dogs do live the moment, so he'll be okay when he comes back. It's just at that moment I saw him leaving. So that kind of shifted my consciousness a little, see, just like any human. And I think spirituality, we spoke earlier, is when we could take the consciousness and not be all positive and not remove negative, but to be clear. Clear. When I asked you earlier, close your eyes and feel trust. That's spirituality, trust. Trust in the universe, trust in God, trust in Allah, trust in Christ. Whatever your trust is, doesn't matter. But you can't be dogmatic in your opinion and say, "Oh, I believe in the Lord and He's going to save me." Now you're in trouble because you don't believe in other stuff. And people say to me, "Do you believe in reincarnation?" Ooh, I have a good answer for that. I don't believe in anything. Isn't that interesting? I don't believe in anything. I accept everything, but I don't believe. See, when I say, "Oh, yeah, I believe in past lives," now I'm in trouble because I'm stuck in that belief system. Do you think?
Yes, 100%. And I'll say something about that when you're done. Yeah.
Go ahead. You can say it. Say it now. I'm with you.
I also kind of live like that. I don't align myself with any particular beliefs. I just kind of try to stay open because I do feel like once you say that you believe in this and that, you kind of get, you have to abide by those lifestyles. Well, at
That's
least you
right.
should. I mean,
Yeah.
if you, for instance, if you say that you're a Christian, you should abide by those Christian beliefs. You should.
Yeah.
But I know plenty of people who say that they abide by different religions, but they don't actually follow the practices
Yeah.
of those systems. So
I agree.
I don't align myself with anything in particular because I like to live life in a free way.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I agree. And I also think that we need to learn how to be enlightened. And it's interesting. I did a podcast a while back, and it was a podcast titled about love. And I think it's on Facebook or YouTube or somewhere. And I got a call from a family member who reamed my butt out because nobody could be enlightened but the Lord. So I understood what she was saying and I accepted that. Remember, again, accept. It didn't necessarily match my belief system, but it matched her belief system. So she could not accept what I was saying because her belief system and her doctrine said no. And I share that not to contradict her, not to criticize her, just to say that when we believe in something, it sort of shuts the door to allowing anything else.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how did you maintain having unconditional love and holding space in that moment when she was kind of coming
Yeah.
at you with that energy?
Because I had to love her unconditionally for her belief system. I had to accept the fact that she had gone through this fundamentalist type of direction that says this is the way. And it saved her life. I'm going to say that saved her life, spiritually speaking, religiously speaking. It saved her life. So I had to show gratitude for her saving her life by her belief system. So that allowed me to love her unconditionally. And I had no difficulty with that. I even told her that I accept your beliefs. I do. I don't believe your beliefs. You hear that? That's I say it. Well, I don't believe your belief. I didn't say that to her, by the way. That would have started another challenge in itself. But I did say to her, I accept your beliefs. And her biggest discomfort was that I spoke about feeling enlightened. And that was a real challenge for her. But I do accept the fact that if there is something that says enlightened, we might not have it, Sage, but we are working toward it. I am always, when I get it together, Sage, I will get it together when I take my last breath and I say, there, I've done it. And then they close the lid on the coffin and I've done my journey. And that's my journey. That's my quest. That's my journey. That's my desire to be on this earth until I take my last breath, knowing that I've done the best I could with my acceptance of others. By the way, I might share with you also, when we think about beliefs, I use a measurement like this and I say, imagine now what you know. What? Now, this is acceptance, this is belief. Now, imagine what you don't know. Ooh. Ooh. We haven't even begun to start on that one, have we?
Yeah.
So when this person has a belief system, that's what they know. When you have acceptance, you know the universe. Yeah. When you have acceptance, you know the universe. I have acceptance. I have acceptance. My mother taught me when I was a little boy that all people are good. They just do bad things. But all people are good. And so I accepted that. I accepted that. I have met murderers, I've met rapists, I've met people who have done bad things, but I don't remember ever meeting a bad person. Just people who do bad things. So I think the judgment is he's a bad person, he killed somebody. We don't know his story. And if we knew his story since the day he was born till now. So I ask your viewers, Sage, I say to your viewers, who are you? Ooh, that's a powerful question.
That's very powerful.
Well, I might say, well, I'm a person. I'm a male individual. I'm Larry. No, those are all labels. Shut up with the labels. Who are you? Their lies. Their lies are power to know who we are. I know who we are. We are a sum total of everything since the day we were born till now, and maybe before we were born. Maybe when we were inside of our mother's womb, our mother may have had a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, a lot of worries, and her blood went into us as a fetus, and we were born feeling anxiety. That's who we are.
And that's a very powerful statement. Is that all people are good. They just do bad things. I feel like that's what I try to maintain as well. Is just you don't know that person's story. You don't know what they've been through, and you don't know the reason why they made the choices that they made. Every person is just going through life with whatever habits and patterns that are existing in their minds, and some people have some very terrible patterns in their minds which cause them to do bad things. But
Yeah.
I mean,
Or maybe, I have a great story. I have a story from 1983. It's funny, I can't remember where my keys are 10 minutes ago, but I could remember 1983 like it was yesterday. And I was asked to come down to county jail to hypnotize a murderer who couldn't remember shooting somebody, but there were 32 witnesses that saw him shoot. Did I ever tell you that story, Sage?
yes, I remember
Yeah.
this one. Yeah,
Okay. That's a good story.
yeah,
And and I know the story well because I spent many hours with this murderer. And my shortness of the story is after learning about him and knowing him, and he shot somebody in his mind, self-defense to keep from being killed or hurt or shot. I say even a murderer has a reason for what they do, but we need to know their story. We need to know their history. We need to know where they came from. The story of Uday Hussein is that his mother used to put guns in his diapers when they would go visit his father in prison and smuggle the guns in his diapers at 2 and 3 and 4 years old. At 12 years old, his father gave him and his brother a gun. So, with that kind of conditioning, I could see him doing some things that were not okay.
yeah, yeah. That's very at that age. That's wow. I couldn't even imagine. I feel like most people couldn't imagine
Yeah.
experiencing a reality like that at such a young age. Where you, wow,
Yeah. The first time I met a murderer, I said I had strong emotions for this man. He was such a gentle man. And I realized that murderers are not ugly. Murderers do not walk around looking mean. They just happen to do something to protect themselves. If a guy's going to go in and rob the 7-Eleven because he's broke and he needs the money, that's why he's going to rob the 7-Eleven, by the way, because he's broke and he needs the money. You say, why doesn't he get a job? Maybe nobody will hire him. Maybe he's got consciousness and background that says, you're not hiring, are you? So he goes into 7-Eleven and he pulls out his gun. And he says, give me all the money in your cash register. And the person behind the counter reaches down, and the guy with the gun is already nervous. You know what I've learned about? I've learned about criminals. I've met many, whatever that name means, is that they are nervous when they commit a crime. Would you think that, Sage?
wow,
Right?
yeah, wow,
Right?
yeah,
Let's pretend like you or I or anybody watching us is going to commit a crime. They go in a bank to rob the bank. Don't you think they're scared?
yeah, yeah,
4 young guys jump out of a car with guns to hijack a car, or what do you call it, carjack a person's car. Don't you think they're scared?
yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
So they're wearing this anxiety. Give me your money right now. They even yell. You know, when you're scared, did you ever notice you exhibit anger?
Yeah,
You exhibit anger. Hey, Jack, did you poop? Good boy. He's back. So he said, where's my lunch? So the guy behind the counter says, give me your money. And the guy behind the counter reaches down, and the guy with the gun shoots him. Why do you think he shot him, Sage?
he was afraid.
He was afraid. He didn't want to get caught.
Yeah,
So he shot the guy behind the counter, not because he's such a bad guy and a murderer and a killer, but because he was broke, he needed the money. The guy behind the counter reached down like he was going to alarm, pushed the alarm button, and the guy with the gun said, "Oh shit, I'm going to get caught. I got to get out of here." Boom, and he runs out the door. That doesn't justify. I'm not justifying. I'm just saying what we said in the very beginning. I choose not to judge. After spending 4 hours at county jail with a guy who killed somebody with 32 witnesses, I always remember that man. I had such compassion for him. He just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, and he shot somebody. And I'm lucky, I've never been in the service. I have an aversion to guns. I'm a very gentle man. I've been confronted by very mean people. When I moved in this neighborhood 35 years ago, there was gangs on every corner. I'd walk up to the gangbangers and say, "Hey, how you doing? My name's Laurie. What's your name?" Who's this crazy guy? Everybody else was running scared. I was being friends with them. But I have many of those friends left that have their own families now, their own kids, and most of them still live in the neighborhood. So everybody needs love, don't they, Sage? Everybody needs love.
Absolutely. That's one of the fundamental reasons why people create realities out of anger and sadness and pain and loneliness is
Yeah.
that absence of love just drives them crazy.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Yeah.
It's so important.
Love is the way. Love is
Absolutely.
And if anybody's watching this video and I know you well and you know me well and you are watching and listening to two men who lived love, unconditional love. Yes.
It's that Pisces energy in us.
I agree. That Capricorn might not agree with us, but I agree. We are the wimps of the zodiac. We are full of emotions and love and caring. How wimpy is that?
I know, right? Yeah.
We are also emotional, positive or negative. We just need to learn how to be positive. We were born positive, but along the way, somebody altered our course, and we may have become less than positive. But now we are.
Yeah, absolutely. Very powerful. What does you mentioned enlightenment earlier. What does that word mean to you, enlightenment?
Mhm. Yeah, that's a great question, and I have an interpretation like this: is that I live in a spiritual moment. I live. Let's look like this. Let's say that we could take that word enlightenment and dissect it, and we dissect it into category of saying, I live the moment of enlightenment by not judging, by living the moment, by being okay with whatever is, by knowing that the universe is taking care of everything. And I could go on, but just those little labels will lead me into it. And pause me for a second. I gotta check chicken. Make sure it's boiling presently. And what you know, turn the gas up a little bit. Gas low. Turn off the gas. Are you with me, Sage?
Yep, I'm still here.
Okay, I'm back. For my dog. Do you think he knows how? Do you think he knows I'm cooking for him? Here's a bow tie I got for him. A little tie I got for him. Jack wearing that tie?
That's so cute.
Jack is my buddy. Enlightenment is being a dog. There's enlightenment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways, I think my interpretation of enlightenment is kind of in a brief that way. I don't think it's being able to walk on water. I don't think it's being able to go to heaven. I think it's being as clean and clear consciousness you could. Do I have rough days? No, I don't. I have rough moments. I often like to say I don't have bad days. I used to. I have bad moments. But when we live the moment, boom, that moment we've got that's uncomfortable, we move on. So having a bad moment is not the same as having a bad day. I used to have bad days. I remember bad weeks. I remember bad months. I could even remember bad years. Now it's just a bad moment. What you doing, Jack? What's going on, baby? Comes Jack. He's coming up here. Say hello.
Hey, Jack. how, how you doing?
He says, I want you. We'll get out of here in a little while, Jack. Okay. Now look at him. He's going to go sit in his chair. Because it says, he says, you don't want to walk with me now. I'm just going to sit there and relax. I love Jack. You know,
Yeah, good
Jack's
boy.
14. He's 14 years old. Do you remember when I first got him?
I think so.
Yeah, he was a challenging guy. I got him about 13 years ago, and he bit me the first day I had him. Now he's full of love. You know, it reminds me of what we're talking about, Sage. If a person is around love all the time, they become love, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah. If
Absolutely.
Jack is around love all the time and he bit me the first day I had him, he was probably scared and he bit me. Now he's not scared anymore. He's okay.
It's our environment that shapes our reality.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. That's how my one of my cats that I had just got. He wasn't aggressive, but he was very anxious and fearful. And
Yeah.
I wish I recorded more of when he first got here, but he was always hiding under the bed and just anxious. And then
Yeah.
you know one day he saw me petting his brother. They're not really brothers, but
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
brother, and he just walked up to me and he let me pet him, and
I want
he
that too, he says.
yeah, he couldn't get enough of it, Larry. He just till this
Good
day
work.
he's always calling me because he wants to be pet. He just
Yeah. Yeah.
love is just the universal language,
Sure
and
is. Sure
yeah,
is. Oh.
yeah.
Mhm.
Has anyone ever come to you for past life regressions?
Many times. Yeah, many times. I used to do a lot of past life regressions. In fact, I was in a documentary in 1977, and the documentary was titled Present Dreams, Past Lives. And it was a documentary on does reincarnation exist? And how they determined that was by me hypnotizing a few people on this documentary and having them go through past lives. But yes, I've hypnotized and regressed many people. Regressions take a while, 3, 4 hours to do a regression because you start going through a past life and they describe it. Now, whether or not past lives exist is not about my belief system as we spoke. It's about my acceptance. So I've been regressed myself and things have popped up and I said, where'd that come from? Maybe it was my imagination. Maybe it was something I made up. Maybe it was a story I heard as a young boy. Maybe it was real. So better to not believe in reincarnation, accept it. You go in with an open mind in this journey. If you believe in it, you could only take one road. I don't believe in taking one road. When you want to manifest, as we spoke earlier, you cannot take one road. You have to take them all. You have to find what fits you the best and go on that road. But yes, I've done many past life regressions. In fact, I did a workshop a few years ago on past life regressions for other hypnotists. I have, if hypnotists are listening, I have a lot of material I could send out. One is on past life regressions. I've got a great manual on past life regressions. I've got a great manual on pre-talk. I've got one on smoking. I've categorized 49 different kinds of smokers. So I've got one in self hypnosis. I've written about 200 articles. Probably 100 have been published. I've written on my fourth book. don't know if you saw my latest book, The Way of the Superior Hypnotist. Did you see that one?
I think I've seen that one on your website.
Yeah, okay. The Way of the Superior Hypnotist. When I see you, I'll give you a copy. Anita Barton and I did that one together. And we spent a couple of years just kind of going over stuff, all the stuff I took out of my head and all of her head, which is very logical. She put it together, but it came into a nice book. It's a great book. It's a book written for hypnotists that they will not find things from other books in there. I'm not your average hypnotist, as you know, and the things that I wrote were not the same thing that other. I mean, I remember reading many, many books on hypnosis, and I'd be reading the same thing again. Say, I need something new. Right? You're smiling, but it's true. So I needed to write something that was different. This is different. This is different. I was at the conference that I originally met you at, St. Louis, William Mitchell's conference, the Heartland Conference. And so I only brought I think I brought about 15 books with me. I could have brought 150 and sold them all. I didn't know. And so I did a presentation to the stage hypnotists, how to go from stage hypnosis to clinical hypnosis. And I had my books with me. So I showed them a book and I said, if you don't learn 10 new things in this book, I'll give you back double your money. I sold every book within 5 minutes. And so that's the way I feel about it, that somebody reads this book, The Way of the Superior Hypnotist. I got that from David Dita. You ever heard of David Dita?
I think so.
David Dita wrote many books for men, some on sexuality, some on just being a good man. And his main book was The Way of the Superior Man. It was a great book. It was a book about how to be who you are. David Dita is a straight male individual, so he wrote mostly about women. And The Way of the Superior Man is all about how to be with women. And that was one of my favorite books for a long time. So The Way of the Superior Hypnotist was a copy from that title, because if you want to be a superior hypnotist, that would be the book to read. That was a good
Yeah.
plug.
Yeah, it was.
Mhm.
Although I definitely love the title.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Somebody thought it was egotistical, and I said, no, it's for you to be. I already know who I am. For you to be the super.
Exactly.
I wasn't writing that. Me, you.
What does the word wisdom mean to you?
Wisdom is an interesting word. I like wisdom. Wisdom reminds me of subjective knowledge. Knowledge is what I learn by reading, by going to school, by understanding things. Wisdom is what I've accumulated collectively from my experiences of life. And when I think about the wizard, I think about the person. I remember my wizard was a 90-year-old woman that I used to go to for wisdom. Her name was Bessie. Bessie was 90 years old, and she was the old wise lady over on Harlem and Irving. And I'd go see her. And one of my friends said one time, I think she's a crazy old lady. Well, at that time, I was about 40. Bessie was charging $45 for a session, and she would see about 10 people a week. And I said to my friend who said she's a crazy old lady, I said, well, she makes $450 a week cash. She's 90 years old. I don't think that's so crazy. So she was a very wise woman, but she taught me much. Wisdom is collectively our experiences of life that we use.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to wrap up here with these last few questions. What is your definition of living a good life?
Wow, that's an interesting. You have some great questions. Living a good life to me is opposing discomforts. Discomforts are, like we said earlier, disease, disorganized. Discomforts are absent of comfort. I have a philosophy in life of my consciousness, my life. There are people that I know that when I'm close to them, I begin to feel a discomfort. And almost immediately now I say, well, I've got to go now. I've got things to take care of. Life is waiting for me. And I'm sure we will talk again sometime. And I leave. So living a good life is avoiding any kind of energy, people, animals, the universe, consciousness, plants, that creates a discomfort in you so that you have a comfort. If you have a comfort, then you have a good life. I hope that explains it well.
I understand.
Yeah, good.
What is your definition of God?
God is an interesting one. When I was taking classes from Ken Kai's in the late 70s, early 80s, he brought up an issue because I was trained as a Christian, as a Catholic. And God was this guy up in the sky with a beard who was always judging us. You screwed up, Larry. You screwed up. You ate meat on Friday. You screwed up, Larry. You swore. And Ken Kai's told us that the God isn't up there in the sky judging us. The God is within all of us. So I learned that within me, there's a God. Now, of course, my fundamentalist cousin might disagree with that. Oh, no, there can't be a God inside of you. Mm-mm. But I believe that the definition for God for me is that the God is within all of us, even the murderer, even the bank robber, whoever it is, the God is within that person. You know the story about the two guys that were going to rob me one time, don't you not?
Yeah,
Yeah, good story too.
yeah.
I put my hand on his shoulder and I says, "Everything's going to be okay. I wouldn't worry about it. Things will be fine." Instead of robbing me, he smiled and said, "Thank you," and walked away.
So
So
powerful.
yeah, so powerful. So I brought out the God in him. That was a great story. We've been talking for quite a while, and we have thousands of stories, Sage. And of course, I appreciate the ones that you brought up. But you have some good questions. What's your other question?
Um, uh, so, what is the ultimate purpose of life from your perspective?
Hmm. So I'm making this up as I say it because I haven't thought about it. Because I ask everyone, "What's your purpose?" So the ultimate purpose of life, I think, I feel, is to walk a good talk, walk a good line, allow others to mimic us. Do you ever watch my 5-minute videos online?
I think so. I
Yeah.
think I have.
Go on YouTube, Larry Garrett YouTube. There's about 50 of them. And one of them I just did recently is called mimicking. And mimicking is an interesting one. So my purpose in life is to share. I read a great article this morning about Mr. Rogers says that we need to greet or know or communicate with at least 6 neighbors. And I've communicated with 60. So I think the ultimate purpose of life is to set up the moment so the following generation will learn from the moment we set up of goodness. How's that one? I'm making that up.
That's a perfect Larry Garrett answer.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you. Yeah.
And where can people find out more about you?
Well, if you go to LarryGarrett.com, that's a good one. Now, there's an egotistical statement that I made. I think I told every hypnotist, you need to get an email with your name. Because I think you've heard the story that somebody else had LarryGarrett.com and I had to buy it. Imagine me buying my own name. But we could say
Yeah.
you could go to GarrettWellnessCenter.com, but you get to the same place. But LarryGarrett.com is the easiest one. Go on YouTube and look up higher Larry Garrett and higher consciousness or Larry Garrett videos. And I think I have about 50 videos on there, and they're all about 5, 8 minutes long. And they're just about speaking some piece of wisdom as we've just done together on this journey that you and I have taken. But I think the best way to find me is just type in Larry Garrett. Go on Google, magic of Google, Larry Garrett.
Thank you so much for your time, Larry. It's been a wonderful, amazing conversation. I hope it enlightens so many people with
Myself
knowledge
as well.
and
Yeah,
wisdom.
myself as well. I love you, Sage. And, as we speak about wisdom, I have an image board that I keep. Oh, I like to show
Beautiful.
well, but I want to show you this one here. This one here, like the wizard. See the wizard pulling the beautiful lady out of the pot of oil?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's sort of the way I feel. I feel like the wizard pulling out the magic out of the pot of oil. Could be a beautiful woman. I love beautiful women. You noticed, right? Well, we have a lot in common, don't we?
It's
You
the
know,
Pisces.
want to hear a good one after that one? Because you've seen me around women. I love all women because all women are beautiful to me. I was
That's
raised
right.
by a single mom, and my mom's favorite phrase was, as I was growing up, she would always say, "Be nice to girls." And I might compliment you. I don't have as many male friends as I have women friends, but you are a very special friend of mine, Sage, and I am honored to have done this project with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Larry. It's been a
Thank you.
pleasure. Thank you. All right, everyone. That was a great podcast.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Check out Larry at his website. And yeah, I will see y'all soon. Thank you so much for listening.
We'll talk again. Be well.
We'll talk. Be
Take
well.
care.